Yes. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Card. I'm your host, Blaise Kozeniewski. We talk to the famous, not so famous, and everyday people here in sports in the South Jersey and Delaware Valley area. This week, a very special guest. I've known him all my life. It's my younger brother, Blaise Kozeniewski, and you might say, well, how do you get your younger brother on your show? Well, Blaise is a double-A pitcher who was with the Yankees organization. And I guess your claim to fame right now is you got traded for Tim Raines, so you're for the White Sox right now.
Right now I'm with the White Sox, and we'll see what happens this year. I don't know what's going to happen, but my claim to fame right now is Tim Raines.
Before we start talking about minor leagues, let's go back a little bit. Tell us what high school you went to and how things went for you in your high school ball.
Well, I went to Highland High School in Blackwood, and back then I was an infielder where I played 4 years there. I played varsity for 4 years, and looking for a college scholarship, nothing really ever came out, and then ended up going to Camden County College.
Now, did you get any awards? Everybody gets caught up with the awards with high school. Did you receive any awards back then?
I got a couple of awards, but really, the All-South and the awards like that, there was nothing too much that came my way. So I wouldn't say that there were any really high, big awards in my bookcase.
So people shouldn't really get caught up. Parents get so upset. My son should be. You really shouldn't get caught up in that.
Right. I had when I finally started to look into the professional level, I had reporters call me from the South Jersey area looking to see if they had chosen me for the teams, and a lot of times they hadn't. So, my fame kind of came down the road.
And it was kind of interesting as you're playing high school ball, especially by your senior year. A lot of scouts were coming by saying, we think we might pick you. We might pick you, but nothing ever happened. Did that discourage you at all?
It discouraged me a little bit because, out of high school, you want to go and you want to play somewhere. You want somebody to want you, either college or pro, and it never came about with me. And then the college offers, looking for the college offers, and none of that ever came about. So I ended up, like I said, choosing Camden County.
Did you kind of get the thought that, I don't know if you want to say politics or not, but just something, because again, we saw what was out there at the time, and we saw some guys getting scholarships, and we would be scratching our heads saying, how did this guy get a scholarship?
I still don't know what it is. You have to be in the right place at the right time. You have to know the right people. You have to do the right things, and I thought I was doing that, but for certain situations as a pitcher or as an infielder, they, I guess, didn't like what I was doing, or I hadn't proven myself, so I really don't know what they were looking for.
So you ended up going to Camden County College. Now, as you first got into Camden County College, were you disappointed, or were you just happy to be still playing at that point?
I think I was disappointed because I was looking for that big college scholarship that really never came about, and I went to Camden County, and I was still at home, so I was happy to be at home and hanging around mom and dad still, and you were still around. That gave me some people to throw to and have a good time with, and I don't think I was ready to go away. So I think the Camden County, that was a good decision on my part to go there and start my career there, and it really worked out for the best.
Tell us about the first year at Camden County. How'd you do?
First year, I had a really good year. I played shortstop. I had a decent year. I mean, there wasn't anything big about it. The biggest thing was after the year was over, I had some offers from schools, and I really didn't want the offers that they were offering me. They were a lot of local schools, and nothing that I wanted to do. I wanted to go big time. I wanted to go to the schools you see on TV, the Miamis and the Florida States, and that really never came about. And it was like Drexel and LaSalle, and I wanted to get out of the snow and the cold weather. So I went back to Camden County for my second year.
Second year is kind of when a light switch was hit for some reason. If I remember correctly, you had the highest batting average? Or?
I was third in the country that year with batting average. I hit .533 as a sophomore at Camden County, and I made the junior college All-American team. And like you said, a switch flicked on, and people had already recognized who I was and what I was doing, and then schools really started coming out of the woodworks. I had VCU and Richmond and Old Dominion, South Carolina. I had a lot of schools come out of the woodwork looking for somebody that could help them out, and I ended up choosing Georgia.
And that's an interesting story because, if memory serves me correctly, you went into the summer before you had to transfer, really not knowing where you were going to go. How did that come about?
Like you said, I was playing summer baseball around the area, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I had no idea with school or anything. I was trying to weigh my odds, and like I said, there were schools from up here, but I didn't really want to go to any of the schools that were offering me any scholarships. So I just held out as long as I could, and the University of Georgia was in the World Series at the time, the College World Series, and happened to win it that year. And after winning the World Series, they had a lot of players drafted, and he needed a shortstop to come in and hit in his 3-4 spot, and he came up with me with some money, and I was glad to choose Georgia.
So you leave Camden County, the Big Cheese, number 3 average in the nation. You got to be feeling really good. What happens the first few times you show up at Georgia? Did you feel like you belonged in your junior year, or did you feel out of place?
I felt like I belonged, but it probably would have been better if you start there as a freshman, because then you go in, you can see what's going on, you sit back. Now I'm thrown right in the fire. I have to go out and perform for what they picked me up for, to go out there and play every day. My first game is on ESPN against Oklahoma State, and I struggled. I didn't hit the ball. I struck out 3 times. That's something I might have struck out 8 times in my junior college career, and now I strike out 3 times in the first game. That was something that was really tough for me to take, with the people yelling and people on you all the time. But I hung in there. Finally, my 4th at bat in the first game, I finally hit the ball, so I was happy about that. And it was an adjustment, but it was an adjustment that I was glad to, and it was a great thing.
You talked about playing on live national TV on ESPN. I'm sure it's easy to say, it didn't bother me, but it has to be bothering your mind a little bit as you're getting ready to bat.
When you're there, you think, okay, it's not going to bother me. I'm going to go and play, and I'm just going to go out and have my game. But I look back now, it's something to get adjusted to. In junior college, you have maybe 50 people there watching you, and family and friends. It's no big deal. Now you're playing in a stadium where there's people all over you, yelling at your name. Obviously, my name's a little long.
Yeah.
They're all over you for people's height, just everything you can imagine. They're all over you. They have people coming in just yelling at you. And it's something to get used to, something that you have to learn to focus on. Forget about what's in the crowd. Just go out there, hit, and play the game.
And you're in the lineup every day with the University of Georgia, playing in the very tough SEC conference, which is probably, if not the best, one of the best leagues to play in college baseball.
Right. The SEC. It was a great conference. Mississippi State, Florida. So we played teams in our conference every weekend that could absolutely hit the baseball, throw the baseball. You had guys that could play, and there's a lot of guys in the big leagues now that have gone through the SEC, and I played against, and it's funny to see them up there now.
And you really get a lot of great crowd and fan support there. I mean, you played in the Superdome with the SEC, and even your home stadium at Georgia, that almost held 5,000 people. You're on the radio every game, you're on TV. It's almost like being a pro.
It is almost like being a pro, but again, it's the college atmosphere where you have to go out and you have to do the books, and you come in and supposedly baseball is second. So, we used to go out there and just have a good time and go out and do what we can do, and hopefully it will work out for the best.
And kind of interesting, these 2 years at the University of Georgia, in the top 10 in most hitting categories. They said you might have played 4, you might have led in everything.
Yeah, I hold a lot of records at Georgia that I still hold to this day, and some of them are like total bases in 4 years, and I only played 2, and I'm 10th on the list. So there probably could have been a lot of other records that I could have held, but like I said, I was happy to go there and just happy to have a good time and play a game that they would want me to play.
We'll transfer things on after this commercial break. We'll move into what it's like to be a minor league baseball player under George Steinbrenner when the Sports Card continues.
Too bad everything isn't guaranteed like cable service.
Welcome back to the Sports Card. I'm your host, Tad Kozeniewski. This week's guest, Blaise Kozeniewski. Yes, the same last name. My younger brother, a Double-A pitcher right now with the White Sox. When we left before the break, you had just graduated more or less from the University of Georgia, and you're waiting to be drafted. How does that process work?
Well, I was actually in Georgia in my apartment at school, and I went to junior college. In junior college, I could have got drafted. In high school, this is my 5th year waiting for a phone call, and never got a phone. 5 years, I figured, why wait around? I was actually doing some homework. We weren't done school yet. At school, I was doing some homework on my bed, and I got a call, and it was the Yankees, and they said that I got drafted in the 16th round and would give me more information later.
later information was that you were going to be a third baseman playing in the New York Penn League, and in Oneonta is the team, a few miles away from Cooperstown. How did that first year go?
Well, that was good first year. I mean, it was a little bit of a shock to me that I was going from shortstop to third, because a lot of people think, hey, you're just moving over one position, but it's a different aspect of fielding the ground ball, throwing to first, and then, you know, all the aspects. Now, hey, now I'm a pro. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, who's around me, who's playing. You know, it's just a shock at first. And I went in and I hit the ball real well, but I had an adjustment at third base. I had to really try and figure out how to field and how to throw the ball. And towards the later part of the season, I started to pick it up real well.
You talk about adjustments. Probably your biggest adjustment is that, a hitter's best friend to a wooden bat. How was that adjustment?
I didn't have too much trouble with the aluminum bat to a wooden bat, because the wooden bat I had always hit with. We hit with it in the backyard. Dad always made us hit with it, or, you know, at a field I would have a wooden bat. So that wasn't too much of an adjustment. The only adjustment I felt as a hitter was that the wooden bat was a little bit heavier. I couldn't whip it around as quick, so I had to have a little bit more strength to do it. I had to start the bat a little bit earlier. Okay. So that was the only adjustment.
When we look at the movies on minor league baseball, you see Bull Durham and we see beat up buses and chickens on the bus and all this kind of stuff. What was your impression of minor league baseball before you got involved?
Well, you watch those movies and some things are correct in you know, the buses aspect, but you know, I had a good owner in George Steinbrenner where he would, you know, provide the best stuff for us, and that included the buses and the hotels. We really never had that. I mean, there was no, they said that a couple years ago, that's the way it was, but now it's, you know, he's got a good bus for the team. Everything's provided, and it's nice. A lot of that is a little mythological.
Now you're at the point where you also get paid to play, and a lot of people's myth is, hey, these guys show up at the ballpark at 4 o'clock, they sleep all day. Your first year in the pros, what was a typical schedule like?
First year in the Penn League, they would have us practice at 10 o'clock in the morning. We'd come in and practice from 10 to 12 and then break for lunch and then come back at 3:30, take batting practice and, you know, take infield, get ready to play the game. And it was an all-day thing. It wasn't something where we just showed up at 6:30 and the game was at 7. A lot of people thought that, hey, you have time for autographs. We were dead by game time. You know, we just went out there and got on the field, and then after the game's like, hey, you know, we want this, we want that from you. We just wanted to go home and eat dinner.
You talk about the fans. This is your first run-in, more or less, with the fans. Before that, you were a fan, going to the Veterans Stadium. Overall, how do you think people, you know, in these minor league towns treat you when it comes to going for autographs? How did that work?
Most of the people treat you fairly well. The people we get frustrated at are people that just throw stuff in our face. You know, hey, here's a ball, and sign it, and, you know, you have time, and hey, we'll make the time. If you figure out my name and you make the time to figure out who I am and what my number is, not, hey, number 30 or whatever my number is. If you make the time to know who I am and you know, present a little conversation with us, we'll sign anything at any time.
Memorabilia is becoming a big factor when it comes to signing right now. Do you have a lot of run-ins with these guys that come in with all kinds of balls and bats? How do you treat that situation?
Oh, myself, it really doesn't occur with me too much because I'm not one of the high-profile players. I have played with guys that are like that, and they have stuff in their locker every day and before every game, and people want this and people want that from them, and that's just the type of player that they are, so they're going to have to deal with it more. Myself, I'm more or less, you know, just a fan-type player that goes out there and I'll sign stuff, and you know, it's not really too big to them. Maybe down the line it'll be, you know, a nice thing for them. They'll have my autograph, but right now it's not much.
Do you think, and this may be a tough question because you haven't made to the major league level, major league players' baseball attitude is from the fans is, they don't care, they don't do this, they don't do that. On the minor league level, is it different, or are the players sort of the same as what we hear the stories?
As far as the players,
when in with the fans, when it comes to, are they available for autographs?
Yeah, most of the players are. I have come across guys in AA that, you know, think they're too good for it, or, you know, don't want to, or don't have the time. Most of the players will go out and sign autographs any time, any place. We'll do things for the fans, and I think it is more or less a fan-player relationship where you can kind of trust the fans around you. You're not a big name yet, so, you know, why shouldn't they trust you? Why shouldn't, you know, you trust them? So we do sign as many autographs as we can before and after the game. Some guys have things to do. Some guys like to hit before the game and can't do it. So there are autographs a little bit tougher to get, but most of the guys sign anytime, anywhere.
So you complete your first year, a half season in Oneonta, go down spring training, you're psyched to be a third baseman, but something happens.
I played the whole spring as a third baseman. My first spring training down in Tampa, Florida. I'm learning the position. They're teaching it to me. I really struggled, like I said, at first in Oneonta. And then spring training ends, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, where am I going? And they call me over and they want to make me a pitcher. So now everything is totally changed, and I get to go back to Oneonta again for the second year, but this time as a pitcher.
And looking back at that, again, being the older brother, I mean, you really seemed a bit upset about the whole process.
I enjoyed hitting. I really enjoyed hitting, and the aspect of hitting, that was a lot of fun. But now all of a sudden they take that away from you, and now it's a matter of sitting in the bullpen all night and watching the game, and then maybe every third, fourth game I get into pitch, and that was something really hard to adjust to.
How tough is it? Like you mentioned, you in college and your first year of pros, every day set routine, in the game, in the ballpark, boom, game's over. Now it's a mental adjustment. You don't know when you're playing.
I have no idea when I'm playing. I know if I'm up for the evening. I mean, with the Yankees, they're pretty good with a pitch count. If you go the night before with the 50 pitches or 55 pitches, the next day you possibly have the day off. Your name will be marked off on the list. So I know, hey, I got a shot at pitching tonight, or I don't have a shot at pitching. So if I'm not pitching, I know I can relax and just kind of sit back and watch the hitters and see what they're doing. But as a pitcher now, it's like I want to get in the game and I want to play every day. As a hitter, I knew I was going to hit 3-4 times a game. I was going to be in the game no matter what the score was or what was going on. I was going to play every day. Now it's a matter of sitting in the bullpen and watching the game, and that was probably the toughest adjustment for me.
You were made a pitcher because of your strong arm. So more or less at this point, you were a thrower, not a pitcher. Is that correct?
I used to go up there, and I did pitch a little bit in college, and they'd put me on the mound, and I'd throw it as hard as I could, and I used to throw it by people, and they were like, wow, hey, we have something. I think that's first when the pitching started to come out. Now, in the pros, I'm doing the same thing, but I'm throwing it right down the middle, and I'm throwing as hard as I can, but that's average, and they're hitting it. And I had a lot of trouble with trying to figure out how to get guys out, where to throw the ball, how to throw the ball, and it was a big adjustment.
So to be successful on your AA level and hopefully AAA and even pros, what do you have to do to be a successful pitcher?
To be a successful pitcher, I have to spot the ball. I have to throw it in, throw it out, throw it where I want to throw it at any time. I have to change my speeds, and meaning change up, fastball, slider, and I do throw a forkball. I think I have to get all 4 of those over for strikes, and I think I have gotten those 4 over for strikes, so now that's why they have moved me up through the organization, and that's why the Yankees and I have had some success, and that's why they're moving me through.
We'll take a quick break. Our guest, Blaise Kozeniewski, AA pitcher with the Chicago White Sox. We'll find out how we got from the Yankees to the White Sox right after this. Welcome back to the Sports Card. Tad Kozeniewski with little brother right now, Blaise Kozeniewski, AA pitcher for what is now the White Sox. We'd mentioned that you'd gotten traded this past offseason, and we're going to go back to a story last year. How'd you find out you got traded?
Found out in the newspaper.
Really?
Yeah. I was sleeping, actually, and my father read the newspaper and woke me up about 6:30 in the morning and said, hey, you've been traded. And I was like, oh, okay. So kind of read the paper, saw what was going on. Very happy about the trade because, hey, this is an opportunity to go somewhere and play somewhere somebody really likes you. That's how I found out about it.
When did the Yankees let you know?
The Yankees called me about 9:30 that morning, so I was up all morning. Obviously, I couldn't go back to bed. I was too excited about what had happened, and they called me, and they said some encouraging words, and I was happy with the trade, and they thought it was an opportunity for myself and for them with Tim Raines, and we're happy about the trade right now.
Most people that right now you know where you're going to be with the White Sox. Explain, you're going to spring training, what's going to happen, where you're going to go.
I'll go to spring training in Sarasota, Florida, and from there you'll try and make a team. It'll depend on where it is. The AAA is in Nashville, Tennessee. The AA is in Birmingham, Alabama, and I don't plan on going too much lower than that. So I'll go down there, and they'll have a specific thing that they want me to do, whether it be pitching AAA or pitching AA, and we'll go from there. But it'll take the full month, or they may have an idea of where I'm going. I don't know. I haven't really talked to them too much. I'm waiting for them to talk to me and find out what's going on. But we'll go down there, try and make a team, and from there we'll either be in Birmingham or Nashville.
So basically you're in spring training, and you don't know until the last day where you're going.
That's how they did it with the Yankees. I don't know if that's how they do it with the Chicago White Sox, but basically you have an idea with about the last week. Last week comes in, and you know that all the players have filtered down throughout the 40-man roster, and you know if you're still in AAA, at that you're probably going to go to AAA with the week left. So
that's Blaise's status right now for fans out there that follow minor league baseball. He'll be with the White Sox minor league organization, AA or AAA. You'll just have to check your Sporting America or your Baseball America and find out. Last year was an interesting year, though, for you in your life. We had the baseball strike last year, and you had an interesting decision to make.
I got a call from the Yankees, and they wanted me to report to big league camp. Now, normally, if the strike isn't on, I wouldn't report to big league camp. So I had a decision to make, and I felt that I had only pitched at that time for a year and a half, that I needed all the help I could get, whether it was at the big league level or the minor league level. And it didn't seem like at the minor league level I was getting the help that I needed. So I talked it over with the Yankees, and they thought it'd be a good opportunity for me to go down and learn some stuff in big league camp. So I decided to report to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and try my luck with the replacement squad.
So you're down there, and the Yankees have the first this before any other minor league replacement team. What was that first day like?
Media everywhere. Unbelievable how many people were there, and just, talking, you want interviews. But there were about 12 to 13, 14 guys maybe that were in the minor leagues with the Yankees, and we just stayed away from all the reporters. We didn't really want any part of it. We were just trying to help ourselves and better ourselves and help us down the line. We weren't really looking to take anybody's spot as much as all the big leaguers will say, hey, they were trying to take our spots, and that wasn't the case. Everybody was out there trying to learn and trying to get the best help they could to help them down the road. Nobody thought it was going to go as long as it did. We all thought, I had my agent has Kurt Schilling with him, and Kurt told me that he didn't think it would last but 3 weeks. So I figured, hey, I got a 3-week mini camp that I can go down and learn as much as I can, and it ended up going longer than he thought.
On the field, how'd you do before the strike was settled?
I struggled a little bit. Like I said, for a couple of years, and it was an adjustment. Learning what to do, when to go, what to throw, when and where, and I struggled, but I did a lot better than a lot of the other guys.
Finally, the ultimate moment. First game in Coors Field, your last day with these guys. So what was that like?
It wasn't the last day. We had flown from Fort Lauderdale to Houston. We were supposed to play in Nevada, in Las Vegas, to play the Giants, and that folded because there wasn't enough fan support. So we stayed in Fort Lauderdale another day, then flew to Houston, and that was my day off. I knew I wasn't going to pitch that day because they had so many guys that had to pitch. So we were in the Astrodome and played in the Astrodome, kind of got beat, and the management was pretty upset with us in the Yankees. And then we flew to Colorado. Well, the next day in Coors Field was the first game that was ever played there in Coors Field, and I was a part of it. I sat in the bullpen, I think, until about the 7th inning, and then I pitched the 7th inning and pitched rather well, and I think opened some eyes. And it was
a
full stadium. It was packed. I'm not sure how many people were there, but
it
was full. I was more nervous in the bullpen than I was on the mound, because in the bullpen, you're sitting there and you're looking at everybody and how many people are there. And now I'm on the mound, and it felt like I had the feeling of everybody being on top of me, but nobody really bothering me. I couldn't. It's so far away. In the minor leagues, the stands are a little bit closer to the field. This was a little bit further away. I mean, you could still hear people and everybody was still around you, but it really didn't bother me that much.
20 seconds for young kids and young parents out there. What do they have to do to get to this level?
Just want to be a player, want to go up and do the best they can, and I would say go and to a camp, or the best possible thing that can be provided to you as a player, and just keep plugging away. Hit as much as you can, or throw as much as you can, and learn as much as you can. I haven't stopped learning until this day. I still go out and I still talk to people, and there's little things that can teach you here or there from different people, and I'm still learning. So don't ever think you can't learn anything.
Best of luck.
Thanks.
For you at Comiskey Park someday, we hope. Thanks to Blaise. We'll be back next week with the punching postman, Tony Thornton. See you next week here on the Sports Card.